We have traversed the country, literally turned it upside down, looking for the best debaters, and now we're back to base where it all began. Welcome to the Great Debaters Contest, Nairobi Region Edition.
In a day where an individual's opinion can make an impact by a simple keystroke, individual rights should be secondary to national security in this era of terrorism. That is the question that these two teams seek to answer. So, on the proposing side, we have Moi Forces Academy, who are not a stranger to this event. And they believe that, in their own words, they will bring truth to the debate. Opposing the motion, we have Huruma girls, who have told their opponents that they should beware of their A game.
The motion this week is: individual human rights should be secondary to national security in this era of terrorism. Proposing the motion, Moi Forces Academy, Nairobi. Opposing the motion, Huruma Girls Secondary School.
Each contestant has 3 minutes to make their submissions. The audience also gets a chance to put their questions to each team. Each side will have an additional 1 minute to make a final statement. The judge's decision is final. The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with a widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.
Proposer number 1, you may take the stage. You have 3 minutes.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Philip Ndegwa from Moi Forces Academy, and I'm here to tell you the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, human rights are allocated freedoms that we're all entitled to on the basis of being members of the Homo sapiens species. Now, national security is the responsibility of the government to ensure the survival of the state. And terrorism is any act undertaken to create mass extreme terror in the masses. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's first state that the only reason that we are able to enjoy our individual rights is because we're safe to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, first things first, terrorism takes away your rights. See, in Kenya, we've been afflicted by a type of terrorism known as state terrorism. Terrorism in its own is wide. We're talking about narco-terrorism, we're talking about state-sponsored terrorism, we're talking about cyber-terrorism. But what we're suffering from is state terrorism. See, in August 7th, 1998, Kenya suffered from state terrorism in that the US embassy was bombed and we lost 224 lives. 224 lives of people who could have been the next generation of Kenya's leaders. We're talking about Steve Jobs in that crew. We're talking about someone who could have been Bill Gates just to terrorism. And we're giving you a solution to the problem that is facing Kenya, terrorism. See, in the past 2 years, we've seen an upsurge in terrorism activities, and what we have is an answer to that. See, in communities like in Nairobi, we have gated communities which implement community policies such that they have curfews, they curb your movement in and out to a specific time frame. Now, in such communities, we've seen rates of terrorism at 0. We've seen drugs in such communities at 0. So what's stopping us from taking that to a national level? See, members of this community, they deny themselves the right to movement. But as they deny themselves right to movement at such a time, they're giving themselves right to life. They're preventing themselves from being endangered to such factors like terrorism. Look at it this way. See, people suffering from high-risk diseases like communicable diseases like Ebola, they're quarantined in hospitals. They're not allowed to mix with the masses. That's just so that they can prevent passing on of that disease and consequently the death of the masses. See, what we're trying to show you is that by denying a certain group of people their rights, we're saving your life. we're saving our lives. See, this has been so effective in countries like Northern Ireland and the United States of America, which after 2001 implemented their foreign policy, which saw rates of terrorism to go down such that in 2012, the number of people who died from terrorism was less than the number of people who died from TV accidents. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take this to the higher level. Here's the bottom line. We can do this. Join our side. Thank you.
First opposer, you may take over. You have 3 minutes.
Hello everyone, Victoria Masitsa, representing Huruma Girls High School. Human rights, ladies and gentlemen, are moral principles that are set out on certain standards of human behavior. They are necessities. We need them in order to carry out life at its best effect. While national security, you may ask, what is national security? National security is the requirement to maintain the survival of the state through the use of diplomacy, international law, and power projection. On to my first point, ladies and gentlemen. National security has been known over the past. History shows that national security shows that human rights are difficult. Once they are lost, they become difficult to restore. Let me give a relevant example of the September 9/11 attacks in the US. So many lives were lost, bloodshed occurred. What were the repercussions? People lost their loved ones. A nation was torn apart because of the terrorist act. The individual human rights should be considered, because by considering national security, national security does not give the relevance of granting people the human rights they deserve, of which you know that according to the Bill of Rights, Article number 2, it states that everybody has a right to manifest religion through belief, through worship, practice, or observance. But you can say that an occurrence in our country where a particular religion, members of that particular religion cannot freely express their belief, because whenever they enter a public means of transport, they are sidelined, they're viewed as the other ones. And to my second point, we can't take away individual human rights for security. It's time we take that option off the table, ladies and gentlemen, because people are sovereign beings and imbued with certain inalienable rights from our Creator. Rights provision set national laws apart or break a nation. You cannot protect humanity from itself. Whichever laws are put in place, human beings are known to rebel. We get to know this from our first fathers, that's Adam and Eve. They're known to rebel. We are rebellious creatures, ladies and gentlemen. No matter how many laws are passed, one can't extinguish the desire in human beings to rebel. Thank you.
Time now for rebuttals. Proposal number 2, you have 3 minutes.
Greetings to all. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Chris Yobera from Moi Forces Academy, and I'm here to show you what they are trying to hide from you. I'm here to give you the solution. Now, they talked of national security being the requirement to maintain the survival of a state. But how do we maintain this survival? By depriving some of your rights. We are not killing all your rights. We are just depriving some of them, like the right to privacy or the right to fair trial. See, if I'm taking away all your rights, that means I am killing you. But we're not taking away all your rights. We're just maintaining your safety so that you can enjoy your rights. But to maintain your safety, we have to deprive some of them. You talked about 9/11, but really, what happened after 9/11? The counterterrorism tactics that were employed, for example, preemptive neutralization, that is search and seizure and trial without jury, all those aided in the abatement of terrorism in the United States. From our statistics, in 2012, TV-related accidents, the deaths that occurred from TV-related accidents were more than deaths of US citizens occurring from terrorism. And those citizens were not even in the country. So people, we have to look at this from a different perspective, a different angle of view. We are not taking away all your rights. What we want is for you to live. If you're safe under your state or your nation, you can enjoy your rights. Through religion, you say that most suspects are ascertained to come from a certain religion. But have you ever heard of behavioral monitoring? This is the views you get from one's behavior by monitoring their calls, their connections, their account transactions. Through this, people are able to gain important information that shows anywhere where there is an option of having a terrorist cell. These same people you may call from a certain religion, and we need to respect them, may be the same people who are planning to attack you. Behavioral monitoring shows that most reign from Arab origin, not from a certain religion. Origin, not religion. We need to see that clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to give you is an option to your life. We are trying to give you a solution to this problem that curbs us. Each and every day, people died. People die, deaths that cannot be accounted for by some governments. That is why we need to deprive the right to privacy, to get what we need, so that the government can get what they need to save your life, to maintain your security, your national security. Through that, you enjoy your rights. Thank you.
Second opposer, please give your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
Lucia Clara from Huruma Girls. I stand here to strongly oppose this motion that says individual human rights should be secondary to national security in this era of terrorism. On to my first point. Human rights is the fabric to national security. From what point of view? For instance, we have right to life. In the distant past, we had traditional African communities sacrificing human beings as a way of worship. One reason being because to them it was something normal, as order of the day, was their culture. But when these rights came, they were restricted and there were boundaries on right to life. On to my second point. If national security is being made paramount, makes the individual human rights to be easily violated. What do I mean by this? For example, when we had the Westgate terror attack, we had police officers looting into people's properties in the name of national security. Does it really make sense? No, it doesn't. On to my third point. If individual human rights were to be considered and everyone should have their own bodyguards, because we know some people should be well taken care of. Example, the disabled, the government will be able to account for their careless deaths and the bodyguards will be accountable.
May we have questions?
My name is Sandy Rose. I have a question to the second opposer from Huruma Girls. You've said that in some traditional cultures, people were given as human sacrifices because they believed in it as a way of worship. Are you trying to say that in this civilized time, that people should still continue with such traditional practices that violate human rights just because they believe in it?
The first opposer talked about the terror attack of and of the US where lives are lost. So can you be specific on about how many lives were lost?
So may we have 2 questions for the proposers, please?
To the proposers, I'd like to say that I would like to ask that you talked about human rights should be considered more than national security. What do you think? If national security was not there, how would the human rights be implemented?
My name is Emmanuel Gadara. I'm from Aquinas High School, and I ask if should individual rights be secondary to national rights, and we are still in a corrupt country. Will the people take advantage of them?
May we have the 3rd proposer?
My name is Samuel Mutemi from Moi Forces Academy, and I'm here to answer the questions that have been asked. To the first question, we are actually saying that national security should come first before human rights. Reason being, sacrifice is inevitable. I believe I have answered your question, although you had said that we had said that human rights should come first. I'd like to state that correction. Second, you're asking if the corrupt people will take advantage of human rights. I'd like to state something. You're here because you have human rights. You had the right to movement. You had the right to life. You had the right to be where you wanted to be. Now, if you say corrupt people will take away your human rights, I tell you that terrorism will do worse. Therefore, to protect the few, or rather to protect the multitudes that are here, we have to deprive a few of their human rights. I believe that is what we have to do to get a terrorism-free world. I also have something to state. The BT Yahya, I believe we have heard him from the news. He's a British nationalist. He was arrested in Kenya on terror allegations. British government, they said they wanted him released. On what grounds? Protecting human rights, protecting the rights of detainees. Ladies and gentlemen, less than 2 weeks later, this man knocked down a British nationalist in Britain. And if that is not enough, he was going to chop off his head. Ladies and gentlemen, rights cannot be given to everybody. We have to deprive some people of their rights. In every market, there is a madman. This madman, if he's given a gun and you give him all his rights, then he will take all of your rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand here before you, putting before you life and death. I am telling you that you have to stand up and you have to say national security has to come first. Take an example of Luxembourg. The country has one of the highest GDPs. Reason being, the rate at which they follow the human rights is 98.5%. But they have deprived 5% of the people of their human rights. Why? Because these people are dangerous when they're given all their rights. These people are dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes.
I'm an initiative from Huruma Girls and opposing the motion that states individual rights should come secondary to national security during this era of terrorism. Let me answer your question. The second opposer meant, according to Condoleezza, it shouldn't be practiced. That time, people were not aware of their rights. I believe everyone now is aware of their rights. The first opposer meant, according to Condoleezza Rice, the State Secretary of the US, 1,155 lives were lost. Ladies and gentlemen, look at it this way. The security forces in Kenya are handling the issue of terrorism. Any suspected Somali is first considered guilty until proven innocent. But to our principle of law in Kenya, it requires that every suspect should first be considered innocent until proven guilty. Based on the Chapter 4 and Article 27 of the Constitution, every individual, every citizen in Kenya has the right to their social origin and ethnic group, language, or their religion. So I believe there's no one of you here who would be like to be denied of their rights. Also, this action evidence a government way out of right of control. These are not merely temporary inconvenience based on the need to ensure public safety. Rather, they are serious breaches of human rights. In effect, if we continue down this road, we are not better than those people who support repressive regimes that we profess to abhor. If anything, it will merely make terrorists shift tactics or perhaps their targets. One of the primary objectives of terrorism, of terrorists, is to provoke the ruling elites of a target regime into overreaction. I bet there's no one here who would like to be denied of their rights, who would like to be killed or denied of their right to go to right of education just because of national security. I would like you guys to support us in this motion that you are opposing. Thank you.
We'll now get closing statements from the two team. A member of the proposing team to take a minute.
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, what our opposers are trying to show you, that anything done to ensure your safety in form of national security is a cost. And what we're proving to you is that it's not a cost, it's an investment in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have for you is a solution, and all they're presenting to you is a problem. See, the state is bigger than any one of us, and the future of this country and the world rests in your hands. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way to go is through national security. What they're giving you isn't your way to salvation, it's your route to damnation. And we're presenting to you your salvation in form of national security. It's life, they give you death. I suggest it's time to take up arms and fight for your life. Thank you.
A member of the opposing team to take a minute and give us their final submission.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I've got from our proposers, it's that they're trying to justify the fact that engaging in terrorism is asinine. They're trying to tell us that the ends cannot justify the means, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot fight terrorism by engaging in terrorism. This is asinine. And I just love to tell you that it assumes, this is basing our facts on the assumption that counter-terrorism will actually lead to the provision of national security as a whole, which won't. Why? You've mentioned of a guy who was arrested on terror claims. You have not specified which terror claims. Ladies and gentlemen, there are different types of terror. There's bioterrorism and many others. So you should have specified which type of terrorism you were talking about. And I just have to leave you with a quote by Thomas Jefferson. The greatest danger to national freedom is a government that ignores and perverts the Constitution. Thank you.
It was a fair debate. Fair in the sense that I believe that a lot could be done, but you did the best that you could do. On one thing, examples, localize the examples. There is a lot that is happening in the African continent as far as terrorism is concerned. If you go back to the 9/11, it's okay, but we need recent examples. Recent examples are good because the members of the audience and the decision makers can easily identify with these examples. They are still fresh in our minds. So next time, do that. Persuasion, that's the basic thing about debate. You need to persuade the audience. And to both teams, a comment, you need to work on your signature styles. You need to come out a bit forceful in a way. Victoria, Beautiful way to start us off, but as I've said, examples make them current. Master content also, be more involving and modulate your voice. When you're making your final submission, I wish you could undo the climax that your opponent had created. If you undo the climax, then you leave an impression in the minds of your listeners. Nonetheless, a fair representation. Clara, offer rebuttal. I wish you offered rebuttal. You ignored that. As a second speaker, that is your basic duty. And if you ignore that, you are dropping a lot of points that they are raising. Police looted property during the Westgate siege. I think that is very controversial, unless you can prove. Don't make statements unless you can prove. Avail your documents if you want to make an assertion. I think it is just an allegation so far, unless you can prove that it is true the police looted property. Finally, Nene, avoid emotional sounds when you stand to speak. Avoid it. And also avoid voicing your pauses. It is not good for you. Otherwise, the two teams, you are fair. It was a fair debate. I expect a lot from the coming debates. Thank you.
Across the board, what are the organized terror groups doing in relation to the motion today? Because I didn't hear the mentions of such people as the Al-Qaeda from both sides, Al-Shabaab, those mentions of some of these organized terror groups that have really wreaked havoc in our nations. So it's good to also give such examples so we can know as we are debating in this. Moi Forces Academy, Philip Ndegwa, you're very confident, good mastery of language as well. I love your tone of variations, especially when you're creating emphasis. Good use of examples. However, what exactly from your examples when you say the United States, what have they done exactly? It's good for you to elaborate on that because we know it's one of the nations that is very persuasive in terms of pushing for human rights. And so it's good when you say that they have put security on a higher notch. What are they also doing on the human rights? So when you citing these examples, it's good to have some of those things put across. Good ending, however. Chris, thanks for explaining the motion as well. And then you said that we are not taking all your rights. I love that emphasis on showing that you're not just saying that we are pushing all your rights away. It was good for you to explain that. However, there was monotony of delivery in your presentation. So if you work on a bit of your tone of variations and all that, the part that I penalized you was time. You went overboard. The bell rang twice, and for that you penalized, and your team lost some marks. Samuel, good use of examples. However, you make a statement that in every market there is always a madman. It's always good to say it is said or something. What is your reference to that? Don't come and appear as though you're the one who has created these quotations. However, you're very confident and good mastery of language.
The judges gave Moi Forces Academy 69.9. Kindly give them a round of applause. They gave Huruma girls 65.7. So our winners for this debate are Moi Forces Academy, and they proceed to the next round.
Bravo to the gentlemen. We hope to see them in the next round. And to the ladies, they put up a spirited fight. So we thank both teams for opening the floor for us. From us here at the Great Debaters Contest, it's till next time when we'll see you back on this stage putting up great debates. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyambok. Thank you very much.
The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.